Ah, football agents, the bane of those in charge of recruiting players for their club, and the individuals that receive the ire of fans on a regular basis. While football has many super agents, Mino Raiola, Pini Zahavi, Kia Drabcian, none of them have the same kind of influence on football that Portuguese agent Jorge Mendes wields. Why? Because Mendes doesn't only have some of the biggest names in football under his watch, but his influence is felt in the running of clubs such as Wolves, Valencia, and even Atletico Madrid to some degree. Hey, I'm Adrian and welcome to a bit of a different video from Rabona TV. Just as we did a profile on Mino Raiola over a year ago, we'll now look at Jorge Mendes to see how he is associated with some of the biggest players, his involvement with certain clubs, and the controversy that has brought, plus how he got started and got to the level that he's at today. And if you want to keep track of some of the moves that Jorge Mendes and his agency facilitate, there's no better way to do so than with OneFootball's absolutely free application linked below. Right, Paco?
That's right.
Can I come in? Well, last time you overstayed your welcome and the door isn't working. Well, how did you get in? Okay, well, recently, OneFootball redesigned their entire app, giving it a fresh facelift and paint job, adding new features to the app that you already loved for its up-to-the-second live scores and match tickers, the fastest breaking news stories that are updated live, as well as special videos, highlights, transfer rumor raters, and more. And where can the people get this, and I'll say it again, free app, Paco? It's available both on iOS and Android, and all you have to do is click the link in the description below to get a free download. Thanks, Paco, and what a deal. And thanks OneFootball for sponsoring this video. And speaking of deals, let's get back to Jorge Mendes and his start in the football world. Jorge Mendes was born in the outskirts of Lisbon, Portugal in 1966. His father worked in a Petrogol gas plant while his mother made hand-woven straw hats that Jorge himself would sell on the beach. He also loved and even played football, but his career never really took off, and at the age of 20, he moved to Viana do Castelo, just northwest of Braga, to live with his brother, where he bought a video rental store. From there, he continued to move up the economic ladder as he later purchased a nightclub by the time he hit 30 years old. This was also when he retired from football. In fact, it was at this nightclub that he met his very first football client, a certain former Portuguese goalkeeper and current manager of Wolverhampton Wanderers, Nuno Espírito Santo. Mendes helped guide Nuno's career, securing a move to Deportivo La Coruña from Vitória Guimarães in 1997, and continued to be his agent as he pivoted from a playing career to management. Thanks to his popular nightclub located in Caminha on the River Minho, he met plenty of football players from Portugal's northern clubs, Vitória Guimarães, Porto, Braga, etc. Some he would later go on to represent, as he did for Espírito Santo. According to the writer Pipo Rosso, his career as a football agent didn't come easily to him, as he struggled to establish himself within the Portuguese market. Due to all of the big names in Portuguese football being managed by the likes of José Veiga at the time, Mendes moved towards representing younger players, and in some cases was accused of poaching players from other agents, according to Rosso. But come the turn of the century, Mendes really began to establish himself. With Veiga, the biggest Portuguese agent at the time, losing some influence, Mendes was there to take his place. His biggest coup, as Rosso said while speaking to The Athletic, quote, he quickly became the agent for nearly all of Portugal's best players, including Cristiano Ronaldo, who switched to him from Veiga. His rise certainly upset a lot of the other agents. After brokering Ronaldo's move to Manchester United in 2003, he then brokered the move to send arguably his second biggest client, José Mourinho, to Chelsea just a year later. Another area in which Mendes has built his empire off of is using the Portuguese league as a portal to Europe for some of South America's top young talents, as mentioned by Rosso once again. As a Benfica supporter, I've seen my fair share of South American talent come through the Portuguese Primeira Liga before moving on to some of Europe's biggest clubs. Not all of them are brought to Portugal via Mendes, but many of them came knowing that the likelihood of them having a move to a big side by Mendes was high. If you do well in that league, it's likely he's going to pick you up. Think of James Rodriguez, who came to Porto and moved to Monaco and then Real Madrid, or his Colombian compatriot Radamel Falcao, who went from Porto to Atletico Madrid, Diego Costa, he went from Braga to Atletico Madrid, Angel Di Maria went from Benfica to Real Madrid, etc., etc. There are a ton of examples. And now, via his Gästefoot agency, he has some of the biggest names in the world under his wing. The biggest, without a doubt, of course, being Cristiano Ronaldo. But in taking a quick scroll through his client list, you'll also find Bernardo Silva and Ederson from Man City, not to mention João Cancelo, Liverpool's Fabinho, Ruben Neves, Diogo Jota, and others from Wolves, who we'll get to later. And while he didn't represent João Felix prior to his move to Atletico Madrid, and according to Transfermarkt does not represent him currently, his close links to Atletico Madrid meant that Jorge Mendes was there to help broker the deal. Prior to the move, he was spotted with João Felix getting dinner in Madrid. He had his fingerprints all over it. However, while the players he represents all for the most part seem to be thankful for the work that he puts in for them, Mendes has been criticized for how he seemingly treats some individuals like a commodity as opposed to having a genuine vested interest in their careers. There have been plenty of cases, such as Diogo Jota at Atletico Madrid, or Fabinho at Rio Ave, or Pedro Neto at Lazio, where Mendes moves a player for the sake of moving a player, and they never represent that club. In Fabinho's case, he was brought to Rio Ave, played one friendly, and then was moved to Real Madrid's B team, before moving to Monaco once again. Jota never played a minute for Atletico Madrid in La Liga either. There's plenty of cases just like this. An article from Bleacher Report, which is listed under my sources in the description below, they note, likewise, Lazio centre-back Wallace trained with Braga for a few weeks after a €9.5 million move from Cruzeiro and was then loaned to Monaco. None of them ever featured in an official game for the clubs that signed them, but despite criticism from the media and supporters, they seem comfortable with their roles on Mendes' chessboard. But I'm sure you're already well aware that Mendes represents a plethora of talent, some of the biggest names in the game. So perhaps the more interesting angle is his association with and influence over certain big clubs across Europe. Without a doubt, just off of the basis of the clients under his watch, Mendes is the go-to guy for many top clubs that are either buying or selling in Portugal, Spain, and England. His influence is felt strongest in those countries as he has great relationships with Real Madrid, Barcelona, Atletico Madrid, Benfica, Manchester City, Chelsea, and on it goes. Sometimes working simply as an agent representing his client, sometimes working as a broker. But there are a few clubs that have an even stronger link to Mendes, which some see as quite controversial. The rise of Wolverhampton Wanderers thanks to their owners Fosun, a Chinese investment company, is largely down to the club's links with Jorge Mendes, despite the club distancing themselves from the claims that Mendes has played a massive role in their club's turn in sporting fortunes. Mendes is very close to Fosun. In fact, Guo Guangcheng, who is the chairman of Fosun, owns a 15% stake in Mendes' agency, Gästefoot. And wouldn't you know it, plenty of Jorge Mendes clients have found work at Wolves. Nuno Espírito Santo, Ruben Neves, Diogo Jota, Pedro Neto, Rui Patricio, João Moutinho, Daniel Podence, and on it goes. In fact, Mendes has his right-hand man, Valdir Cardoso, almost permanently stationed at the club as he attends most matches, keeps an eye on training sessions, and according to some, has even been seen in the dressing room on certain occasions. This is viewed as problematic, as having an agent with that influence of Jorge Mendes siphoning players off to one club more than others makes for some blatant preferential treatment during the market. And Leeds United's chairman, Andrea Radrizzani, has been one of the more outspoken voices in this regard. Radrizzani has previously said that he believed Jorge Mendes' involvement is, quote, not legal. But Wolves isn't the only club that Mendes has a close association with. Valencia, who are threatening to spiral under owner Peter Lim, has long had an association with Mendes and Gästefoot. Lim took over Valencia in 2013, with some claiming that he did so under the guidance of Mendes, though Mendes himself distanced himself from such claims and said that the wealthy Singaporean did so of his own volition. However, you soon started to see tons of talent going from Portugal to Valencia, many of which being clients of Jorge Mendes. André Gomes, Gonçalo Guedes, though he of course joined Valencia via PSG, Ezequiel Garay, João Cancelo, And those are just some of the Benfica clients that joined Valencia, while Nicolas Otamendi came from Porto, Nani, Alvaro Negredo, Ayman Abdennour, and more are, yes, all Jorge Mendes clients, just as Nuno Espirito Santo was rumored to have been chosen as Valencia coach due to his association with the agent. Going further, Albert Celades, who controversially replaced squad favorite Marcelinho in September, is represented by Carlos Bucero, who according to Goal.com works for Jorge Mendes. In fact, the Valencia situation deserves a video of its own, as Peter Lim has driven that club into the dirt, and there are some who point the finger towards Mendes as well, accusing him of using it as a cash cow. And now there are reports that Lim has requested Mendes help him find a buyer, etc., etc. It's quite the saga with the fans and the squad versus the board and the ownership. And Mendes' reach goes further in Spain, as he not only represents plenty of players that play for or have played for Atletico Madrid, but he has a close association with Quantum Pacific Group, who owns a 32% stake in the club. Quantum Pacific Group is owned by Israeli billionaire businessman Eider Ofer, who in 2018 sought the help of Jorge Mendes to negotiate the purchase of a 32% stake from Dalian Wanda. To prove Mendes' influence even further, again in 2018, Quantum Pacific purchased a 51% stake in Portuguese club FC Famalicão, later increasing it to 85%, who were at the time in Portugal's second division. As Ed Aarons wrote for The Guardian, again, linked below, after an assembly of members had voted to make the club a public company 12 months previously, Quantum Pacific purchased 51% of the club and installed Miguel Ribeiro, who had spent 7 years working at Mendes' influenced Rio Ave in a similar capacity, as general director. Mendes no doubt helped build Famalicão's squad, as plenty of his clients arrived on loan from Benfica, Porto, Valencia, Atletico Madrid, and of course, Wolves. How surprised are you? Not at all? It's a similar situation to that of Wolves and Valencia, other clubs with a strong guess-the-foot agency contingency. So, as you can see, the influence that Mendes wields goes far beyond just that of the massive network of players that he represents, as his links to Wolves, Valencia, and Famalicão are strong, let alone his links to Benfica and Porto, and even Atletico Madrid via Quantum Pacific. He's arguably the most influential figure in European football at this moment, let alone the most influential agent. I hope you enjoyed this video. It was certainly fascinating to look into the power of Jorge Mendes. And if you learned something new and want to help the channel out, there are plenty of free ways to do it. A like helps, a subscription helps, and using the link in the description to download OneFootball for free helps as well. And you'll be helping yourself in the process. My name's Adrian. Thanks for watching this video. I love ya, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.